Ooh, it auto records. That's great.
Good.
Okay, the attendee actually left. So, oh,
Well,
here they are. You see their faces? Well, not faces, but you see their names, Maria? Welcome in, everybody.
yes. Hello.
So excited to have you here.
Yes.
Amazing. Lindsay, Bridget, Amy, welcome, welcome, welcome. Lissa,
The
Quinn.
party's
I
starting.
hope I. Oh, yeah, the party is starting. Maria, it's going to be a party today. We already have 6 people,
Yeah.
and it's not
Right.
even time. This is so good. Okay, for all of my friends in the room today, our check-in question in the chat, so all of you should have access because I gave it all to you. We want to know, what is the best communications channel that you're currently using with your supporters, your donors? Tell me all about it. Throw it in the chat. Maria's going to tell us a lot about the communication channels today, but we want to hear from you too, so that helps us frame our conversation. Yeah, so for those of y'all that are just getting familiar with Zoom, there should be a toolbar at the very bottom. And then all you need to do is press that big button that says chat. And then once you click that, there we go. Oh, Maria's role modeling what
Yeah, I
it
started.
looks like to share the chat. No, I love it. I was like, oh, look, everybody else is saying hello, welcome.
We haven't noticed. Yeah, we're good.
Oh, Maria, you put it to host and panelists only, but you can actually share it to everyone.
There you go.
Yeah, so I actually will also, hello, Lindsay, welcome, welcome. So excited to have you here today. Everybody's saying hello. We have up to 8 attendees now. That is fantastic. I'm going to reshare our check-in question for today as we're getting started. Okay, I want to know what you consider to be the best communications channel that you are currently using to engage your supporters. So if that is email, if that is fax machines, which we'll go into in a little bit, if that is just in-person interactions, tell us. We'd love to hear what folks are currently using for your communication channels. Mary, we got one email from Lindsay. Love it. Right now, email is getting the best interaction. Thanks, Dan. Thanks for
Yep.
sharing. Oh, nice. Fantastic. All right. All right, so folks, we'll get started in about another minute just so we can let people trickle in without them, missing any of the good content that we're sharing today. So again,
Yes.
for those of you that are just trickling in, because now we're up to 13, we are sharing in the chat the best communication channel that you're currently using to engage with your supporters. So take a look. Yeah, throw it in the chat. You're going to press that little button at the very bottom toolbar for me. That's the way you're going to interact today. Ask any questions you'd like. And then throw it in the chat. What's the best communication channel so far? So far, I have 2 emails. Okay.
2
Not
emails.
not 2 email inboxes, but 2 people who have responded emails
Right.
as their preferred channel.
I gotcha.
I love it. Okay. Okay.
All
So
right. Welcome,
actually,
everyone.
we are at time. So let's get started so that we're maximizing everybody's time who graciously is giving us 30 minutes of their time today. Hi, everybody. We're so excited to have you here. Once again, if you're getting started, just joining us, we want you to share your best communication channel that you're currently using to engage with your supporters in the chat. And we have a couple of other responses here. We have social media, seems to get the most traction, email and social media, in person. Oh, Sydney, I really do love
Yep.
being in person with folks. That is incredible. We have emails and then weekly newsletters as well. Awesome. All right. So let's get started. Maria, are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
Let's
I
do
think
it.
everyone else is
Okay.
too.
Everybody is ready. Let's go. Okay. So hello, everybody, and welcome to this webinar. You can take a look on my screen. It is What Worked in 2015 Won't Save You in 2025. How forward-thinking orgs are pivoting to one-on-one at scale. So today, we're going to be speaking specifically about the changing landscape of donor communications. My name is Nina. I'm going to be your webinar host, and I'm joined here by Maria Clark. Okay, say hi, Maria.
Hello,
And I want
everyone. Nice to see you.
Maria says hi. And I want Maria to quickly introduce herself to the group and then tell us, Maria, what do you do with Good United?
Great. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Nina, for the intro, and I'm so thankful for everyone that joined us today. Again, my name is Maria Clark. I'm the EVP of Partnerships at Good United, and what that really means is I really work closely with the sales team as we find new nonprofits that are interested in working with Good United. And then I work with the customer success team. So once we have a nonprofit on board as a customer, make sure that we are really listening and understanding and creating the best solutions for that particular customer. That's what I do.
Amazing. And that is what you do. What brought you to Good
Yeah.
United?
That is a long story, and that is part of if you want to like really boil it down, is I make sure that we at Good United understand and listen to our nonprofit partners. And the reason that I was hired is because of my nonprofit experience. And so I have sat in many of your seats for those in the audience. I worked at the American Cancer Society for decades. I won't tell you how many years, but let's call it decades, 30 plus years. And I had pretty much every job possible at a nonprofit, from community fundraiser to government relations to communications. And in my last role, I was serving as the EVP over our nationwide portfolio of events. So, Sydney, you mentioned in-person events. I was over that for our organization nationwide. Many of you have heard of Relay for Life and Making Strides, huge portfolio of events. And so the experience I gathered there and in the past 4 years at Good United working with nonprofit partners makes me very attuned in understanding nonprofit language, the challenges you face, the decision-making process, and just how darn hard it is to raise a dollar every day for your mission. So that's my role, is make sure that we are listening to you, we understand you, and the solutions that we build are really going to serve the nonprofit space.
I love it. Making that dollar, that's exactly what we're going to be talking
So
today.
hard.
Yeah, oh, 100%. I know. I mean, I participated in a Relay for Life, actually. Loved
Good.
that program. Yeah, and you're right. Like fundraising $1 can sometimes be the most difficult process, but hopefully we could share some tips for our audience today that helps making that dollar a little bit more seamless. So
That's
let's
right.
get started. So happy to have you here today, Maria, and so happy to have all 20 attendees here as well. Y'all might be here in this room today wondering, I wonder what I'm going to take away from the webinar. You are all ears, okay? So for those of you who have been in the nonprofit space as long as Maria, so these 3+ decades, right? You have likely communicated with your donors through a number of ways. So that's the in-person events that y'all were talking about, but even direct mail, right? And we talked about previously, before we formally started the webinar, fax machines, okay? I love a good fax machine. So we're going to talk today about how specifically, and it showed up in the chat actually, how social media is actually where people are today. That is where people are building their communities. So in our session, my hope is that we're able to get you start thinking about your 2025 strategy, specifically for capturing, communicating, and then activating your followers on social media so that you don't get left behind, okay? We want you to stay to the end because we do have some fun resources for you, including a direct messaging playbook. So let's get started. I know y'all probably want to hear less from me and more about Maria, because I am, okay? Maria, because I don't have 30 years of nonprofit experience under my belt, can you tell me more about, your broader experience in the nonprofit space, and then how you've seen donor communication change over the years?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been, like I said, I've worked in this space for a long time as someone who worked for the American Cancer Society, but also as a volunteer. And then also just the past 4 years with our current customers. And I have lived the iteration of communications and how it's dramatically changed over the years. And I hate to age myself, but my first effort at the ACS many, many years ago was literally a door-to-door campaign managed by index files. We had a whole conference room full of index files, and we had volunteers come in and they picked up their cards and they took their cards back to their neighborhood and they literally knocked on their neighbors' doors and asked for donations. I mean, that is the most pure form of communication, right? Knock on the door, have a conversation. And since then, it's evolved, and nonprofits have always adapted to whatever the communications strategies are or what people's desires are. So, after the door-to-door campaign, then, obviously we used phone a lot, but then voicemail came, and that was a great way for donors to tell you exactly what they needed or your board members to make requests. And it was a great tool. Again, nonprofits adapted, they used it. Then, of course, email came on the scene, and that became just the most efficient, effective way to really communicate with a mass audience in an efficient way. And we've had a lot of expertise built up around email, how to use it, what's the best tagline, what's the best, opening sentence. So there's a lot of industrial knowledge around email. But the reality is that communication continues to change. Social media came on the scene. People talk very differently. They define community differently. So again, nonprofits have to adapt. And I think that's what we're talking about today is how is direct messaging the next kind of big thing in the communications, the way we communicate and the way we engage with people. Excuse me. And the reason I think that we really need to anchor on the why behind that is just some data that's come out recently. So the annual M&R benchmark report came out just a couple weeks ago, and we see again that email performance is down. So 11% down from the year before. And in 2022, we were raising about $90 per 1,000 emails. Now it's down to 58. So you have to pay attention to these trends if you really want to pivot and make the best use of your strategies.
Wow. Wait, Maria, so you mentioned from my understanding, so the M&R benchmark. So for our folks in
Yeah.
the room, I'm sure some are familiar with it, some aren't. Do you mind quickly just framing what it is?
Yeah, I think anybody out there in the audience, go take a look at it. The M&R Benchmark is an annual publication. It gathers and surveys hundreds of nonprofits, and it provides really rich information about the industry as a whole, how your strategies are performing as a whole. And I think the way that nonprofits can use it is comparing to the industry as a whole instead of just comparing to yourself. And it could really inform, what you need to pivot to based on what's happening in the world and in the whole nonprofit landscape. So if you haven't ever looked at it, Nina, I think she put a link in the chat. Really take the time to read through it because it's going to tell you a lot about emails, about texting, about social media, about website, just everything that you're really working in now to give you a really big picture look at what's working, what's not. And I think it should inform your strategies going forward.
Amazing. I did add that link in the chat, folks. So make sure that you're visiting
Good.
that at some point. Maria's is a great tip. When we were prepping for this webinar, she raised this resource. Sydney says, thank you. She raised this resource and I said, wow, this is so helpful, right? For anyone who might not know how to compare, I think, your own stats and your own metrics to the larger nonprofit space. So helpful.
Yeah.
Okay. So you told me that the M&R benchmark tells us all these forms of communication, right, and how they're performing. But I'm curious, what do they tell us about our donors?
Well, just like communication has evolved, our donors have evolved too. I think donors still very much care about the causes that they believe in. They're deeply committed to it. They're inspired to give, but they are much more selective and they want to feel appreciated. Um, it's really been a generational change. When I first started in the nonprofit, there was a general trust of nonprofits. Donors gave dollars. They didn't ask for, how are you spending it? They just had a trust that what nonprofits were doing was good. That's changed. Not that they don't trust us anymore, but There are so many more nonprofits in existence. There's an information overload. So whenever something bad happens with a nonprofit, everybody hears about it. So it's just created a little bit higher scrutiny. And so now donors really want to feel personally connected to the nonprofit that they choose to give to. They want to feel like they are being appreciated and that they are being informed of what's going on at that nonprofit and the impact that their gift has made, for the mission. And so it's just a higher level of personal connection that is expected by donors. And sometimes that is hard to deliver with the way we've communicated in the past.
Yeah. Nick also shared, folks, in the chat, Nick Black, our CEO for Good United, you
Hey,
can
Nick.
download reports. Maria's like, hi. Even though you probably see him, you probably saw him yesterday. Oh, Eve says hi.
Yeah,
Uh, he mentioned you can download reports all the way back to 2018. So make sure that you add them in ChatGPT just as an ad. But absolutely. Okay. So actually, let's jump straight into it. Thanks for mapping out where our donors are currently at in terms of headspace. But Maria, can you quickly tell us a little bit about, let's transition to the meat and potatoes. Why do DMs
yeah.
work and why do we spend a lot of time helping nonprofits with DMs?
Right. So, I mean, you just have to accept the fact the way that people communicate has changed dramatically over the past decade, and especially with social media. I mean, it's really changed the way people identify others that are like them, create communities, and talk to each other. And direct messaging is just a normal part of many people's lives now. And the for-profit world is already tapping into the 193 million users in the US today. So they know there's a rich audience out there that will respond and talk to you via DM. And we think it's just time for nonprofits to get into this game as well. Why not use a tool that is already working and that is very normal behavior for so many people that spend so much time on social media? We all do it. We're all on there. So why not tap into it and reach people where they are? A couple of the reasons why is we know and have documented that there's higher engagement rates. So direct messaging have open rates of 80 to 90%. Yes, I said 80 to 90%.
Mm.
That can't compare to email. That's down to about 20 to 30% for email. So more people are going to open direct messaging than they're going to open your emails. And then, like I said, mobile first, social media, we all have our phones all the time attached to our hip. And direct
Mm.
messaging is really ideal for a mobile first. It's like getting a text, which we all respond to. When you see the little notification that I get a DM, I always read it because I'm intrigued and I'm on my phone. So we have to adapt communications to where what the way people behave and where they want to get their information. So they use donors use smartphones to access content, and why can't we use it to communicate with them? It's personalized, it's conversational, it's normal, and it's natural to them.
You're 100% right. I'm constantly on my phone.
Yeah.
And then when
Yeah.
I'm responding, it just takes also like the way that our phones are designed is just instant response, right? And
Yes.
with email, you have to go craft your email, and then you have to probably figure out like how do you craft things the proper way. So no, totally
Yeah.
makes sense. You mentioned it previously, but with our phone communications, it's so much more informal and it's faster. It's you know, you know,
Yeah.
you know, Maria.
It's
Okay,
easy. It's easy.
so
Easy.
oh yeah, 100%. So I would love, and I'm sure everyone here would love to hear maybe some examples of some nonprofits that are using DMs currently. Would love some tips that we can use from these stories.
Sure. Sure. I mean, there are a lot of applications of how to use direct messaging. And what we're doing with our current partners is helping them build up a whole audience of what we call supporters. So people that you can talk to via DM that have raised their hand and said, yes, I want to talk to your organization. So you have a whole donor file that you have access to talk to via direct messaging. So let's talk about fundraising. Obviously, that's something that's on every nonprofit person's mind because we always think about fundraising. But a really good example, we have a partnership with National Kidney Foundation, and they have a compelling story that one of their transplant survivors shared. Romeo shared his story and had started a fundraiser as part of one of their challenges. And it was a really interesting story, and the organization really wanted to make sure that Romeo hit his goal, exceeded his goal for fundraising. So they used Messenger, direct messaging, to share his story, to tell all the, I think there were 10,000 supporters that they were able to reach out to, and shared Romeo's story, what he went through as a transplant survivor, why he was fundraising, and then they put a really easy link in there to either donate or to start your own fundraiser. So all of it done probably on their phone, reading a compelling story about the mission of the organization, how they're impacting lives, and then giving an easy way to donate or start a fundraiser. And they had open rate of 72%. And because of that inspiring story, they ended up finding 15 new uh, supporters who started their own Facebook fundraiser. So, with very little effort from staff time, you didn't have staff leaving their offices, going out and trying to recruit fundraisers. They just shared a story that was compelling. And 15 people were so compelled they started their own fundraiser. So that's the type of effect that messaging can have, not only telling a story, which is really important for stewardship, but giving people an easy way to take an action and support the mission of the organization because of Romeo and his sharing of his story.
I love it. So just to recap, folks, storytelling and delivery together, magic. But okay,
Yeah.
so real quick, Maria actually has tons of really great stories. So I do encourage you to reach out to her. We'll share her email at the
Yeah.
end of our conversation today. But because in just respect of time, we'll continue moving over to talking a little bit about how you can start direct messaging and what tips and tricks that you can use today. So Maria, for the folks that are here inside the room and they're looking to integrate direct messaging into their strategy, what are some things that they should consider and keep top of mind?
Sure. Well, I think we've talked about social media, but I think it's important to remember that typically your social media audience, the people that you engage via social media, they're not necessarily everybody you already have in your house file. So these aren't donors that you're already talking to. And that was a misconception when we first started many years ago. Even when I was at the ACS, there was a fear that we were just moving donors over, from traditional ways that we already talked to them and now we're going to ask them here. It's new. The people that are on social media are typically brand new to your organization. So think of this as a really rich place to find new supporters. So direct messaging is a terrific acquisition tool. I know nonprofits spend a lot of time on acquisition, and I hear from all of them that it's probably their number one issue. How do they keep replacing donors? How do they find new donors? And social media is a rich source for that, but you have to have a way to not just talk at them, but to be able to engage with them. So think of social media as a really important acquisition tool, and direct messaging is how you engage with them. So that's a big aha if you haven't thought of it before. And when you talk about direct messaging, think of it as just a new communications tool. We talked about how communication has evolved. We're not saying to walk away from anything you're already doing, but why not add direct messaging to your quiver of arrows, and you have a new way to communicate. You've already figured out what content really resonates with your constituents because of your emails and your direct response strategies. You can take that same content, but now deliver it in a different way that's going to be much more interactive and feel much more personalized with the people that are talking to you on DM. So think of it as just an added communications channel. We're not saying throw everything else away, but really invest in this because it may be the choice of how people want to talk to you. And we always want to meet our constituents' choices. And then in the whole social media landscape, we always talk about, but what about TikTok? What about Instagram? And all the social media platforms are great. Keep posting content, keep sharing stories on, TikTok and Instagram. But if you really want to invest in developing one-to-one personalized communication, Messenger on Facebook is where it's at today. And that's because the technology exists there on Meta. And we're figuring out how to capture that and to use it most strategically. So stay there with your direct messaging, build your own internal infrastructure, how it's going to work, who's going to be in charge of it, how are you going to work with your partners on creating tactics and launching campaigns. And you're going to have that ready to go. And when the other platforms catch up with direct messaging, it'll be very easy to switch and transition and add that to your channels as well. So I think that's some really high level tips,
Yeah.
but well, let's start from there.
No, you're right about starting from there. There's probably so much to learn. When we were prepping for this webinar, folks, Maria was sharing all the insight into the differences in the social media channels, and I had no idea that Meta and Facebook specifically was so far advanced with their just just like
Direct
direct
messaging, yeah.
communication. Yeah, it is wild. I had no idea because in my head, I think from a marketing perspective, you're right. It is very easy and you connect with a lot of people through TikTok, through um, probably Twitter, right? There's so many different ways to connect with folks, but in terms of direct messaging, what you enlightened me to was just so interesting. So
Yeah.
with that in
Yep.
mind, knowing that you are so knowledgeable in, I think even we mentioned this in the last webinar, right? Like the team at Good United, there's a lot of experts in this space, specifically keeping track of all these tools.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about what Good United has to offer for our folks that might need a little bit of extra support?
Sure, sure. Of course, I want all of you to work with
Yeah.
us here at Good United, and not just because you get to meet to work with fun people, but there's some real value. So, Good United has created a very unique technology that allows you to, the one example I gave, and there's so many more examples, to use direct message strategically in a scalable way. So many of you probably have one person dedicated to monitoring your social media and hoping you can respond as much as possible so the people that do interact on social media feel like they've been heard and they've been listened to. We're going to help you do that at scale. It's not going to be one person spending 24 hours a day on your social media pages. We're going to figure out use the technology that we have to do that at scale. And also, you had mentioned expertise. We have a wonderful services team and wonderful individuals who really have been testing and trying different strategies. So, do you want to promote an event and tell people to come to an event? Let's use direct messaging. Do you want to encourage people to write their congressman? You can use direct messaging. So, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve within your organization, our team can help you figure out how to use direct messaging for that purpose. It's not all about fundraising. Obviously, we like any dollars that come in, but I think
Yep.
anybody who's a fundraiser also knows you can't always be asking. So, you have to use the personalized communication to find out what your donors and supporters care about and make sure that you're sharing the right information back to them. If they care about advocacy and what their legislators are doing, it's a great way to share that with them. So then the next time an ask comes through, they already feel committed to your organization and engaged, and you're not just always putting your hand out. So the whole building of a strategy and understanding how you can best leverage direct messaging for your organization and how you can find new supporters so your donor file grows and grows and grows, that's what we're going to help you with. And then I think that one of the most probably juiciest things that people love is the data. We're going to be able to tell you who's giving, who's starting a fundraiser, what they care about, how many times they've given, how many times they've given, what they said they want to do next. So there's a whole data file that we're going to build for you that can become your specialized CRM just for your social media followers. But that I know that's really an important resource for people, and that has been the limitation in the past is that no one knew when someone started a birthday fundraiser on Facebook. You just got the check. You didn't know who it was. You didn't know how to thank them. You didn't have any idea what they cared about. And now we're going to help you capture that, segment your audience, set compelling messages, make them feel like you've heard them and you're responding to them personally, but it'll be done scalable and efficiently and effectively. So that's why Good United can really add value to your social media team or your marketing team.
Thanks for all
I
that
could go on
insight,
and
Maria.
on.
Oh, I know, but I mean in a good way. In a good
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
Uh, I actually would love to know, so are there any nonprofit stories where you feel like they really maximize and optimize their strategy? Would love to hear a success story.
Yeah, I'll tell you a quick one. We have an animal welfare nonprofit, and they have been working with us for a while, and they use the Good United platform to send a direct message to their Facebook followers, prompting the supporters to share a story they had on a powerful rescue pet story. So we all know pets and dogs and cats are just rich for social media, but
Yeah.
they shared a story of how they were rescued and they really wanted more people to see it. So they sent via messenger a request and they asked them to, share this story so more people could see it, right? The campaign went viral. They ended up having a 739% increase in shares. So because we asked them to, many responded and shared the story. 410% more comments because more people it went viral, the people were talking about it, it got more attention, more people commented. And in the end, this resulted in a 28% conversion rate of donations. So when you share a story, more people see it, more people comment, the attention goes to it. You give them a quick call to action. They were able to raise significant funds because this story got so much more traction. And that's with zero ad spend and very limited staff time required because it's automated and they had worked closely with our team to get it, launched. So the ability to share an emotional, compelling story in a much more effective way, they could have put it on their website, they could have posted it on the Facebook page, but you can't guarantee that people are going to see it or it's going to get traction. So that little boost
Mm.
by reaching out directly to your already engaged supporters really amplified that whole campaign.
Great. Thank you so much, Maria. And as we close out today, I want you to share all your knowledge in just one response, okay? What is one action that folks can do in the room today to optimize one-on-one messaging? Go.
Right. Well, it's pretty simple. First of all, go to your Facebook page and make sure Messenger is turned on. I'd love to hear in the comments if any of you already have Messenger turned on and are you using it. But turn it on if you don't have it turned on, and then spend some time in your inbox. Get a feel for what your supporters, your followers, your donors are talking about, what they care about, what they want to know, because it really can inform you about, what's going on and what your followers are expecting from you. Um, do you have messaging on? So that's it. Are there people that are trying to speak to you? Are you answering them? Are you thanking them? What could you be doing differently is really the question that you can ask. And let's bring it full circle back to the old ways of communicating. Think about this. If you were a fundraiser and you got a message from a donor that they wanted to call back because they had a question about the next campaign, would you ever not call them back? Probably not, because then you'd probably get fired. So it's kind of the same concept. These people
Yeah.
are here on social media that already care about you and your organization, and they want to be responded to. And this is a way to do it in the channel where they spend their time and where they're choosing to engage with you. So think about that. There's a lot of opportunity there. But again, you have to build the infrastructure. So step one, make sure your messenger's turned on and you're familiar with what's going on in your inbox.
Great. And that is our webinar for today, folks. There's a lot of knowledge that was shared around. Maria and I are actually going to hang tight for a couple of minutes. If y'all have questions, throw them in the chat. We'd love to share any insight that we have with you. But for those of you that joined our last one, I hope you continue joining us. And for those of you that are joining for the first time, I hope you continue joining us as well. So to close things out today, if you're ready to optimize direct messaging in your strategy for 2025, you can actually download our playbook by scanning the QR code right here on the screen. I'm actually also going to be sharing the link directly in the URL as well. And I'm also going to share you Maria's direct email so that you can bother her for all those stories that she was telling about
Please
and then
do.
probably just pick her brain. Maria is all about it. She is ready to respond. So
Yeah.
just get in there. So we also encourage you to also reach out to Nick. Nick is also in the chat today and he's tuning in. But we also encourage you to reach out to us via our contact form. If you are just pondering, like figuring out what strategy to implement, right, when it comes to fundraising, we'd love to talk to you, strategize alongside you, be a partner through your process. So with that said, thank you so much for all your time today. Hang back if you have questions, but otherwise have a great rest of your week and going into the weekend. Take care, everybody. See you
Thank
later.
you.
Bye, everybody. See you later. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Sydney. Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, everyone.
Lisa, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Remember to download the playbook. Yes. Of course, Stan. Anything for
Give me
you.
a call. Good. Give me a
Amazing.
call. Give me a shout.
No, for real though. I'm going to email Maria right now, and I'm expecting everyone to do the same. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody.
Or DM me.
Happy to see you all. Fantastic. Anybody have questions at all? I know we still have some folks in the room. This is a great time that if you're trying to figure something out, just throw in the chat, and then we'll have Maria respond.
I'm ready.
Oh, I know. You've been ready for this webinar for weeks now. All right. Looks like not too many folks. Okay. Are you sure? I feel like we have
Last
9
chance.
people. What?
I said last chance for questions.
Oh yeah. 8 people are sitting around just looking around to see if other people have questions so they could listen in, but they don't have a question themselves.
Yeah.
That's how I work. All right, folks. Well, pending none, we're going to end the webinar here, but again, please reach out to us, reach out via the contact form, download that playbook, and reach out to Maria first and foremost. Wealth of knowledge.
Please
Have
do.
a great day, everybody. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.